Parts of speech. Parts of speech.
Partes de la oración.
The connectors and conjunctions.
Los conectores y conjunciones.
The 1,300 most used connectors in English. The 1,300 most used connectors in English.
Los 1300 conectores más usados en inglés.
Summing up. Summing up.
En resumidas cuentas.
Summing up.
En síntesis.
Summing up.
Resumiendo.
Surprisingly. Surprisingly.
Sorprendentemente.
Take the case of. Take the case of.
Tome el caso de.
Take the case of.
Veamos el caso de.
Taking everything into account. Taking everything into account.
A fin de cuentas.
Taking everything into consideration. Taking everything into consideration.
En general.
Tentatively. Tentatively.
En principio.
That explains it. That explains it.
Con razón.
That is. That is.
En otras palabras.
That is.
Es decir.
That is.
Esto es.
That said.
Dicho esto.
The authorized person. The authorized person.
Al que corresponde en derecho.
The competent authority. The competent authority.
Al que corresponde en derecho.
The fact remains. The fact remains.
Sea lo que fuere.
The fact remains that. The fact remains that.
A pesar de todo.
The way things are at present. The way things are at present.
Según están las cosas.
Then.
A la sazón.
Then.
Acto continuo.
Then.
Luego.
Then.
Por aquel entonces.
Then.
Pues.
Then. And there. Then and there.
Acto continuo.
There. There.
Ahí.
There. And then. There and then.
En el acto.
Thereafter. Thereafter.
De ahí en adelante.
Therefore.
En definitiva.
Therefore.
En este sentido.
Therefore.
Por lo tanto.
This shows. This shows.
Esto muestra.
This shows that. This shows that.
Esto demuestra que.
Thoroughly. Thoroughly.
Completamente.
Though.
Aunque.
Through.
A través.
Through. June 22nd. Through June 22nd.
Hasta el 22 de junio.
Through the ages. Through the ages.
A través de los tiempos.
Thus.
Así.
Thus.
De esta manera.
Thus. We see. Thus we see.
Así vemos.
Time. And again. Time and again.
Repetidas veces.
To a certain extent. To a certain extent.
En cierta medida.
To a certain extent.
Hasta cierto punto.
To add insult to injury. To add insult to injury.
Para colmo de desfachatez.
To all appearances. To all appearances.
A lo que parece.
To all appearances.
Al parecer.
To all appearances.
Por lo visto.
To all appearances.
Según parece.
To all intents and purposes. To all intents and purposes.
En realidad.
To be on the safe side. To be on the safe side.
Para mejor seguridad.
To be sure. To be sure.
Para estar seguros.
To begin with. To begin with.
En primer lugar.
To boot. To boot.
A mayor abundamiento.
To boot.
Por añadidura.
To cap it all. To cap it all.
Como broche de oro.
To cap it all.
Por añadidura.
To conclude. To conclude.
Para concluir.
To continue. To continue.
Para continuar.
To crown it all. To crown it all.
Por añadidura.
To cut a long story short. To cut a long story short.
En síntesis.
To cut a long story short.
En total.
To cut a long story short.
Sin ir más lejos.
To demonstrate. To demonstrate.
Para demostrar.
To good purpose. To good purpose.
Con provecho.
To illustrate. To illustrate.
Para ilustrar.
To keep up appearances. To keep up appearances.
Por el bien parecer.
To look On the bright side, to look on the bright side.
Por el lado bueno de las cosas.
To make matters worse, to make matters worse.
Por añadidura.
To make matters worse.
Y para colmo.
To make up for it, to make up for it.
En cambio.
To my mind, to my mind.
A mi parecer.
To my way of thinking, to my way of thinking.
A mi parecer.
To no avail, to no avail.
Por gusto.
To one's heart's content, to one's heart's content.
A pedir de boca.
To one's own advantage, to one's own advantage.
En beneficio propio.
To put it in other words, to put it in other words.
Para decirlo con otras palabras.
To put it mildly, to put it mildly.
Para no decir más.
To put it more exactly, to put it more exactly.
Por mejor decir.
To save appearances, to save appearances.
Por el bien parecer.
To say the least, to say the least.
Por si fuera poco.
To sum up, to sum up.
En breves palabras.
To sum up.
En definitiva.
To sum up.
En resumen.
To sum up.
En síntesis.
To sum up.
En suma.
To sum up.
Para resumir.
To tell the truth, to tell the truth.
A decir verdad.
To that effect, to that effect.
En el mismo sentido.
To that end, to that end.
A tal efecto.
To that end.
Con esa finalidad.
To that end.
Con ese fin.
To the best of my belief, to the best of my belief.
Que yo sepa.
To the letter, to the letter.
Al pie de la letra.
To the limit, to the limit.
Hasta más no poder.
To this end, to this end.
Con este fin.
To this end.
Para este fin.
To this end.
Para esto.
To top it all, to top it all.
Como remate.
To top it all.
Para colmo.